with Coach Drayton, and it's great to be with you again, Coach. Obviously, we're very appreciative that we're live tonight at Montana's little different location. We're at 521 Red Bank Road here in Goose Creek for tonight's Beyond the Barracks. It is presented by Cutwater Spirits, and again, Coach, we're obviously always happy to be here and talk some football after you've had a weekend to digest it. Let's unpack this game a little bit that you just come off of. You drop one to SC State 23-20, and there's quite a bit to unpack here. You played from behind pretty much all afternoon, although you kept the game very close, but played from behind most of the afternoon, and the defense held the rope for you until later in the game when the offense kind of found its footing a little bit. What are your thoughts generally when you look back?
Yeah, it was tough. One of our goals going into the game was to start fast. And we had some uncharacteristic things that we did. False starts, jumping off sides. So now we're starting 1st and 15. And we did that on 3 different occasions. And we're a rhythmic offense. We're a 4 yards and a cloud of dust type of offense. So when you put yourself in that situation, it's tough digging out of a hole. SC State did a great job. They had 26 first downs.
Right.
We had 10. They had 45 rushes for 217 yards. We had 26 for 106 pass completions. That quarterback, we said we wanted him to throw. Right, because we knew he could run and he could be mobile, but he went 19 of 26, and we were 13 of 22. So, that's tough sledding. And then when you look at the time of possession, they held the ball for 36 minutes, and we had the ball for 23 minutes. So anytime that happens, that's going to be really tough. And then the last stat I want to talk about, and it's a point of emphasis this week, is 3rd down.
Right.
They were 7 of 13, and we were 3 of 12. So we have to be better in that area. Now, I say all of that, and we still had a chance on the last drive to win the ball game.
Well, Lee Glaze and I talked a little bit about this, and throughout the broadcast as the stats piled up and the numbers accumulated. In a lot of respects, they ran 71 plays, and I think you ran 48. That's another one that's kind of a gaudy imbalance. But still and all, to be there, and you got not only one but really 2 stops in the fourth quarter that would have enabled you to go down there and take the lead. You don't always go down and create a scoring drive. Unfortunately, you didn't, but you guys were right there despite all these statistical disparities.
Yes, we were right there, and I tell you, you want it for the young men so badly because they've done such a great job in the winter program, such a great job in spring practice and summertime, sacrificing, doing it the right way. We have good young men. We don't have a NIL collective. These guys do it the right way. They play football because they love it, and they're great students.
There's a lot to be said, and you alluded to it kind of right out of the box, how much it can throw things off the tracks when you have a penalty at the beginning of a possession. The deeper in your own territory, obviously, the more problematic. When all of a sudden, the old get-off schedule thing that you hear coaches talk about all the time. You've got plays to gain chunks of yards, and you've basically developed a game plan that's based on all this. But when you have penalties that send you the other direction, it throws everything off the tracks.
Absolutely correct, especially against a good opponent. The thing that fans forget about sometimes in college football is the opponent you're facing, they're on scholarship too.
Right.
Those were good athletes that we were playing against.
Yeah, it's a funny thing in the years that I was with the Braves, we used to get all these texts with and I get it. I mean, people are wrapped up in it. They want the team to win, but hey, the other team, yeah, they've got good players and they're trying too. It's just the reality of the situation you were in. But going back to this game, they were a very multiple up-tempo type offensive team. We kind of knew that going into it. And with all of that in mind, and you talked about some of the yards, defense still did a really good job of not bending but not breaking, so to speak, and really keeping you right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Defense did a great job with that, but we helped them at times. On 2nd and 9, they threw a incomplete pass, which would have made it 3rd and 9.
Right.
But we had a roughing the passer call. I can say that in this form and on this platform, questionable at best.
We won't tell on you.
Yeah, we're a gentler, softer society now. I mean, he just pushed the quarterback in his chest and he kind of flopped. So that hurt. Then we had a hands to the face mask, which is, once again, uncharacteristic for us. If we eliminate that, that was a third down play as well, which they were stopped short. If we eliminate those two calls in itself, because they scored on both of those in those situations, I think the outcome would have been different.
Right. But now Lee Glaze is not here, but he does send questions. Isn't that great of Lee? I mean, Lee's a gamer, man. He's here regardless of whether he's actually here. And one of those that he sends along, my broadcast partner, the Hall of Famer, Lee Glaze. First down has been a challenge for us on both sides of the ball. In his words, and he's not wrong statistically, he said we saw it in the first half of the CSU game and quite a bit on Saturday. What are your thoughts on trying to solve or at least mitigate that issue?
Yeah, we definitely have a plan for that. But first, let me apologize to your partner. Yeah, he has a tough task. He catches me coming out of halftime. He catches me after the game when I'm full of emotion. And every once in a while, I'm a little short. And, with him being a Hall of Famer, I can tell he just wants to grab me. But what he doesn't know is I'm an old school wrestler. But to answer your question, on third down, we have to relax. I think we have built third down so big that we're treating it different than any other down, sort of like a game. I tell the guys each week, hey, we have a big game. Why? Because it's the next game.
Right.
Not because we're playing against a certain opponent. And it's the same with football. First down, second down, third down, fourth down. We need to play it as if it's the same down.
So when you get off to a slower start, what kinds of things, aside from tempo, and what do you guys – obviously there's urgency from the minute the thing is kicked off in the beginning. What do you try to do to generate faster starts in games so you're less likely to have to play from behind?
Well, I'm a very patient coach. So what you don't want to do is get away from your game plan too soon and start throwing vertical balls or going for the big play or forcing a trick play. You don't want to do that. You got to stay the course, and you have to calm the young men down and just remind them what our keys to victory are.
Right.
What are the things that's going to help us win so that we can reset ourselves that way?
And part of a game plan, of course, is it's designed to methodically win the ball game from beginning to end.
Absolutely. I want to play a boring brand of football.
And look up at the end as the dust settles from all those 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You've got more than them, and that's in the end all that matters.
Absolutely. 3.5 yards in a cloud of dust.
Right.
So
you got to get that first down, right. So Lee also asked what players, to this point anyway, 2 games into it, have exceeded what your expectations might have been.
Our punter is punting very, very well right now. He's averaging right around 45.7 yards a kick, which is really good. And he has a great story. If you ever get a chance, dig into his story. He's one of maybe 9 kids, grew up on a farm. He came to the Citadel as a manager and was able to be self-taught along with Cade Rainings, who we had as a special teams coordinator last year, now with the Las Vegas Raiders. And now he has Tony Coxum, who won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. We had 2 NFL special teams coaches coaching this guy, and he's punting lights out. Very excited about him. And then anytime you can get a true freshman playing at a high level, Braylon Knopf, I love him to death. When he was on his visit, he's 5'0", 100 and nothing. And I gave him the Maurice Drayton story. I was 5'0", 100 and nothing. And this guy is a dynamic return man. He averaged, I don't want to pull anything out of the sky, but he had I'm going to venture to say he's very reminiscent of Carlos Frank, the great return man.
He had 2 really good returns in this game this past Saturday, both of which gave you good field position.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about whether or not there are any others that kind of stand out that maybe have given you more than you expected or have been pleasant surprises to this point through just the 2 games, to be fair.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to go back to the true freshman, Nicholas Marabella. He had a really big stop 2 weeks ago at CSU, had a big stop this week on special teams. This guy is out of Florida. He came to our prospect camp. He ran a legit 4.3. Our track coaches love us right now because we're going to allow these guys to run track as well. Chris Cutt, who we met last week. Anytime you have a true freshman that is making plays, kudos to them. And it's not easy at our place. Being a knob, wearing those leather shoes, having to march at 120 and drive stairs and live the life that they live, it's very tough.
All right, Lee's last one, and this is the $64,000. What needs to change for us to be able to create more turnovers?
Yeah, I think we have to stop the vertical penetration of the running back, tight end, receiver. Right now, as we're tackling guys, whether it's center mass or whether it's a low target tackle, because there are different tackles, we're going backwards right now. If we can get that ball carrier, drive him backwards, now the second and the third man in, we can get an opportunity to get the ball out. Ball extraction is very huge for us, and we've done many studies on that.
Would you say that this group that you just faced, South Carolina, we talked a little bit about this before we went on from here, but in a physical type of sense, personnel sense, would you say they compare pretty favorably with the average opponent you're going to face in the SoCon week in and week out once conference play gets here?
Absolutely. That is a very, very good South Carolina State football team, especially that offensive line. They were massive. They were huge. Our D linemen, we were somewhat undersized, but, like all Citadel men, we have a fight and a tenacity about ourselves where we just keep going. Their skill positions are very reminiscent of Southern Conference opponents, as well as the tailback. Defensively, it was more of the same. That defense would fly around and it would hit you. They would knock your block off. It was a very physical game. It was what I call a black and blue game. So we broke out the ice baths, and hopefully the Commandant of Cadets won't be too upset with us because I had them in ice baths and late to formation.
Now, tell me how healthy you are through the two games. Knock on wood, everybody doing okay? Everybody ready to keep going?
Yeah, well, it's college football, and it's college football at its finest. You're the healthiest you would ever be was at the start of the CSU game.
Right.
So at this point going forward, we just take our lumps and we put Band-Aids on it and we just keep going.
Like Peyton Manning used to say, rub some dirt on it.
There you go.
We are live, and we're live at Montana's at 521 Red Bank Road. This is Beyond the Barracks, our weekly Monday night coaches show with Coach Drayton. It's presented by Cutwater Spirits. I'm Brian Giffen, and we've got a number of different Citadel folks here. We'll have other guests coming up. Barry Casterlin, who's on your staff and helps with tight ends and along the offensive line. We'll talk to Barry coming up a little bit later. We'll talk to Claire O'Neill, the rifle coach at the Citadel, and we'll get into a little bit more of what's coming up this weekend as well. And a program reminder that will be the Citadel hosting North Greenville. That is a noon kickoff, and with radio coverage, we will have pregame coverage at 11 a.m. coming up this Saturday. Right here, we'll dive into a break. On the other side, we'll tell you what's going on next when we get there.
All
Back
right.
with more after this on the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network. back at Montana's at 521 Red Bank Road here in Goose Creek. Brian Giffen, the radio voice of the Citadel, along with head football coach Maurice Drayton, and now Barry Casterlin, who works with offensive linemen and tight ends, hanging out with us here. This is a good time to have you up here because the next place I was going to go is Saul Diaz with that touchdown catch on that look-back pass you guys threw in the fourth quarter. He's making a transition from linebacker to tight end. I'd love to get your thoughts on his progress. Obviously a good game for him.
It was a very good game. You know, he had that touchdown, that kind of a screen pass back to the tight end after we sprinted out, and we had two great blocks by the offensive line out there on the perimeter, and Saul just ran over a defender to get into the end zone. So really good game for him.
Tight end is kind of one of those unique positions where every coach philosophically kind of uses tight ends a little bit differently. We were joking about this afternoon about, in a run and shoot, I know I'm dating myself like a dinosaur, but like in that form or even in a triple option, truly run-heavy triple option, you don't utilize tight ends beyond blockers very much. But it's a very versatile position and a very valuable position, one that can win you a lot of ball games.
It is. We jokingly refer to ourselves as the island of misfit toys. So we don't fit in any other category. We're kind of maybe a little bit good at pass blocking or run blocking, maybe not the best wide receivers, and maybe not the best defensive tacklers or anything, but we kind of find a spot that we're kind of good at everything, but just not great at all at one thing right now.
And that's a position that turned over quite a bit from the guys who were prominent in that role last year as opposed to this year. People do move on after all. And Coach, I'd love to get your thoughts just on the group. And we talked about Saul transitioning from the defensive side to the offensive side, but just some thoughts. You had a couple of good plays from tight ends in that game.
Yeah, there were a few good plays by the tight ends. Now, we have to keep in mind we were an under center triple option outfit.
Right.
So they did not use a tight end.
Right.
So the tight end position for us is new. So last season we went out and we got Patrick McSweeney, who actually got into the New York Jets rookie minicamp. But we were missing something, so we were able to get Saul Diaz to come over from the linebacker position. We have a redshirt freshman in Caden Schwartzel who was growing before our eyes. Literally, Barry, I think you remember it in practice. We were doing a blocking drill, and then all of a sudden, he started morphing into a guy, and he was becoming physical.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then one of my favorite players on the team, and he has a great story, Mr. Eli Bass. He plays tight end as well. He was the guy on our trick play end around that got us a first down on fourth down. So we're happy with that position group, but when you're the head guy, you always want more.
Right. Well, there's no question, too, that as an intermediate weapon in between, your run game and your vertical pass game, too, tight ends can be invaluable. If you have guys that are good route runners and can hold their blocks and are willing to make that sacrifice, what an invaluable tool that is.
Absolutely, it becomes a mismatch.
Right.
Being a defensive guy, you're trying to. It's a chess match, and you're trying to get your personnel to match up with the offensive personnel. And when you have guys like that, it makes it hard.
Who are some of the better ones you can think of that over the years that you've really studied that you would try to coach guys to play like or to emulate?
Well, when I was growing up in New Jersey, we had this guy named Mark Bavaro for the New York Giants, and he was the epitome of a working class guy that would go out there and get things done. So that's kind of where we're looking at, and we look at some of the guys that are in the NFL now, and we're just developing that position right now to be a little bit more tough and also be able athletic and go up and catch the ball too.
The Giants had a good run on tight ends for a couple of decades there when you factor in, although his injuries cut him short. Jeremy Shockey was another guy that was a matchup nightmare. I think the ultimate matchup nightmare tight end I can ever remember watching play was Shannon Sharp.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it's just an impossibility to find a way to match up with that guy.
Yes.
And if you have a guy like that on your roster, that's an unbelievable obviously, this guy's a Hall of Famer, so it goes without saying. But what stood out for you in terms of just from your perspective about this opponent as opposed to the first? And do you guys collectively feel like obviously you didn't get the desired result. You were right there, but didn't quite get the game. But do you feel like that progression between games 1 and 2 is to your liking, or as always during a season, it's a work in progress throughout?
Well, South Carolina State is a very good football team, and they're well coached. They had a lot of returning veterans up front on the offensive line, defensive line. They had some guys that were all-conference players over at Benedict and transferred over. So they were a tough opponent up front, and we knew that going in, that they were going to be very good. Charleston Southern, I think we maybe surprised them a little bit with some of the stuff that we were doing. That they didn't really had seen us on film so much with Coach Owens calling the plays on offense and Coach Covington from the previous year. So they weren't really sure what to expect with us. Now South Carolina State got to see us a little bit on offense and saw what we were doing. And I think we're going to be a little bit better in these coming weeks about making some adjustments on the sideline and maybe using some technology that we've got coming in to be able to make some of those changes that we probably could have used this week. Would have helped us a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting when you get to this point of the season because now you have a couple of games on tape and you've seen things live and you've taken a few bumps and bruises, so you sort of get into that cruise mode, that regular season mode. And now you take on a North Greenville team that, yeah, they're a D2 opponent. Having seen that program, though, and granted it's been 4 or 5 years ago, but that is a stout, very stout D2 program, so that's not going to be a picnic at all.
No, not at all. They have 17 transfers. Yes, 17. Chattanooga,
right.
Georgia Southern, Samford, Jacksonville State, Gardner-Webb, Presbyterian, Stetson. It goes on and on and on. And they're very, very well coached. Jeff Farrington, he's in his 12th season at North Greenville. That doesn't happen in today's football. But not only that, he's a Citadel man.
Yeah.
Class of 1982, played under the legendary coach Art Baker.
Yeah, Lee and I were talking a little bit about that today. In fact, Lee gave me that tidbit about him being a former Citadel guy. So when you look at them, and again, when I saw them before, one of the things that stood out about them was how fundamentally sound they were. And obviously that's a big key in winning football games. If you don't make mistakes and you're fundamentally sound, you're going to win a lot of football games.
Absolutely correct. You want to talk about them fundamentally and from a defensive standpoint?
From a defensive standpoint, they're not very complex on defense, but what they do well. So, and talking about those transfers, their nose guard, starting nose guard, he played for me at Erskine College.
Wow.
So that's where I came from. So he's a transfer from Erskine. It'll be good to see U-Haul again on the field, but it won't be good to go against him because I know how good he is up front. But yes, they are a 3-man or a 4-man front. They'll get into different looks up there and move guys around. So we've got to communicate well from the field to the sideline and say, all right, this is what they're lining up in, and what can we do to take advantage of that. So it'll be good for us.
I'd like to get some thoughts, Coach, on the offense in a general sense. Coming off of this game, you kind of knew that yards were going to be harder to come by. The running lanes were going to be a little bit tighter if they were there at all because you knew about the kind of fronts you were up against. You did manage, as we talked about, to fight your way right there and be within, a touchdown of winning the game even at the end. But I'd like to get your thoughts on your offense and what areas you feel like you need to tighten up a little bit as you really grind your way toward conference play now.
Well, it's real simple, and the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the stats. We have to tighten up offensively on eliminating pre-snap fouls.
Right.
I've talked at nauseum about 1st and 15 3 times in one game. You can't do that. That can't happen. In addition to that, winning third down, regardless whether it's third and short, third and medium, or third and long. Winning third down. That's where we have to improve.
Well, and we'll certainly find out. We remind you again that the Bulldogs will take on North Greenville. That is a noon kickoff on Saturday, and we'll have our pregame coverage. The Ashley Furniture Home Store Stadium Show begins at 11 a.m. And good crowd at the first game at the home opener. Hall of Fame weekend. The atmosphere was fantastic, and the fans were vocal, and they were right in it with you.
Absolutely. The fans, it was an electric atmosphere. It was very exciting. The tailgates. Speaking of the tailgates, my hometown of Moncks Corner, the community of Goose Creek, where I taught at Goose Creek High School, which is to my right, a half a mile.
Yeah.
They came out. They supported the Masonic Lodge, Moncks Corner 323 Lodge. They brought over 400 people to the game. I mean, these guys, our community, they're supporting us, and we're very excited about that.
Well, it'll be an opportunity again, a very early one, a noon kickoff on Saturday. And we'll set the stage for a little bit more. We'll get back and talk with Coach Drayton as we drill down a little bit more on that game coming up a little bit later. Right here, we're going to take a timeout. On the other side of it, we'll bring Claire O'Neill, the rifle coach at the Citadel, up here, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And we'll do all of that next. By the way, we're live at Montana's at 521 Red Bank Road here in Goose Creek. This is Beyond the Barracks, presented by Cutwater Spirits. I'm Brian Giffen, the radio voice of the Dogs. A lot of folks on hand that are Citadel folks. A lot of folks here just having a good time. We appreciate all of you, and we appreciate all of you joining us via YouTube or on radio. Back with more of it after this. You're listening to the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network. 3 of Beyond the Barracks, presented by Cutwater Spirits. And we're live tonight at Montana's at 521 Red Bank Road here in Goose Creek. Good crowd of people here, and hey, we appreciate all you that are out there, whether you're joining us on YouTube or on radio or online or wherever it is. And our next guest is the rifle coach at the Citadel, that being Claire O'Neill. And look, I told you, full disclosure, while I do enjoy recreationally rifles and things, I don't know much about it as a sport, so you're going to have to kind of carry me along here a little bit.
Sure.
So you were a 4-year member of the Ole Miss women's rifle team, and you were a first-team air rifle All-American in 2022. So talk a little bit about the sport, and obviously you were really good at it, and that usually leads to coaching careers too.
Yeah, so collegiate rifle is made up of 2 guns, basically. So you have your air rifle, which shoots a little lead pellet, and then you have your .22 caliber rifle, which obviously shoots .22 caliber bullets. Each gun has 60 shots with it that go into the full match. So small has 3 positions, kneeling, prone, and standing, and then air rifle is all standing. So if you've ever seen, any of the footage on the Olympics or anything, that's basically what we do in collegiate rifle.
And rifle has become immensely popular in things like the Olympics. And the growth of the popularity of the sport says a lot, and it's got to make you awfully happy. It's your chosen sport.
Yeah, this past Olympics was really cool to see, because I actually had 2 of my previous competitors. They made the Olympic team this past year, and both did pretty well. So it's cool being able to say that I know so many Olympians just from a small sport like rifle that not many people know about.
So now, in the course of a season, and again, pardon my ignorance, is it structured the same way, essentially, as like golf or basketball? Or, so you have home and away matches or meets, so to speak, and do you actually participate in multi-team tournaments with this, or is it typically a head-to-head against another school once you get into conference play?
It honestly kind of depends. So we have our season starts pretty much now, so we're able to start practicing the very first day of the school year, and then our season lasts from anywhere from early October to mid-March. So typically we compete against 1 team per weekend. Sometimes we have like 1 team that we compete against both Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes we shoot against 2 teams on one day. It really just depends on scheduling. Rifle's allowed to have 13 matches for the competition season, so it kind of just depends on where we can fit people in.
Structurally, how do you gain? Obviously, in the internet age, you can find a lot, but how do you go about recruiting and identifying people that you want to bring to the Citadel to be on your team? Yeah,
so rifle is very different than football and basketball in the sense of it's up to the recruit to reach out. Obviously, we go and scout and watch matches and everything like that, but it's mainly up to the high school student to decide that they want to compete in college and to kind of reach out. So rifle is a small enough community where you kind of know everyone, and I actually worked for an organization called the Civilian Marksmanship Program, right actually before I took this job, and they travel around the country teaching shooting to youth kids. So we primarily worked with a lot of high school kids, and that's kind of how I found out about this job. And I've actually gotten emails from some of the people that I knew from back then who I worked with when I was in that position. So it's a little different than, your stereotypical college sport, but it works.
I think just because of, the military aspects and this and that, the Citadel's got a pretty good history in this sport, too, and that's a cool thing to come and be a part of and carry on a culture and maybe assimilate it your own way while you carry on a great culture, history, and tradition here. Yeah, it is kind of cool because it does help me out a little bit with people who, come from JROTC programs in high school who have high school shooting teams and everything. So the Citadel is typically kind of high on their list because they want the military lifestyle and, all that
that stuff.
So Colin Smith does a really good job in our communications department. You know, he was very helpful with baseball, very helpful with anything that all of these guys are. They're very good. But he sent me a lot of notes, and the name that keeps jumping off the page in these notes is that of James Hart. Let's talk a little bit about him, the star of your team, basically.
Yeah. So James is currently a senior. He's actually contracted for the Army, so once he's done at the Citadel, he will go on to complete his contract and everything. But yeah, James, this is only my second season with the Citadel, so you know I've had one season to really work with him so far, and he's been really fun to work with. He made NCAA championships last year, which I believe he was the first person from the Citadel to make it since like the 80s. Wow. I could be wrong, but it had been a good while. So yeah, he's a really good shooter, and it was really cool to be able to see him go to NCAA championships, as you know, because I've competed there before, and it's cool to be on the coaching side now, knowing that the person that you've worked with for the past year has now made it.
When you talk about culture too, and a team's culture or a program's culture, there's a lot to be said for people that are successful like that, and not just what they do, but the impact that they have on others that are in the program also.
Yep. Yeah, he is a good mentor. He's also, I want to say he's a mechanical engineering student, so he helps me out whenever, you know, one of our targets goes down and I need to fix it mid-match. He's always the one to come and help.
So I'm looking over this, and not just James Hart, but also Charlotte Welsh was named to the second team in the small bone air rifle competition. And so looking at, it's just the 2024 Southern Conference Rifle Championships, you guys were second overall, and that's. I mean, the SoCon's tough in everything. Yeah,
that was honestly really cool. We hosted SoCons technically the past 2 years, but again, I was only here for the past year, and it was really cool to be able to see Charlotte get her conference titles, because she actually has graduated. She's actually going into the Air Force too, but she's actually the reason why I found out about this job. So I owe a lot to Charlotte. And she was my team captain last year. She's an amazing athlete, an amazing person. So
it always varies from place to place, you know, when you have the privilege to work in college athletics like this. But one of the things that has stood out for me since I got here is how much great collaboration, cooperation, communication, all that stuff there is between coaches of the programs here in this department at the Citadel. That's a strength undoubtedly for the department.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been cool getting to know everyone, and you know, being able to reach out with all my questions, especially Chris Cutt. I know Coach Drayton mentioned him earlier. He is the military athletic liaison, and he gets so many texts from me, and he's the best. He's really helpful.
So now, when you have matches, do they have tickets for those, and people can come and watch them, all that stuff, or no?
So the matches, all of our matches are open to the public, but they're free of charge. You don't have to have a ticket. You can literally just walk into the range, and we have glass windows that you can watch them through, and we have screens that will project all their shots out, so you know, you can be sitting in the lobby and see exactly where all their shots are going. So it's not the most thrilling sport to watch. You know, it's not like football where people are cheering or anything, but it can be interesting.
You know, the one thing I've found is that the amount of cheering there is directly proportionate to how many people there. In other words, families coming to cheer for their son, their nephew, or whatever it is. And you have the same thing undoubtedly with the families of the kids in your program. Yeah, we have a couple of my freshmen last year had their parents come down for a lot of the matches, and that's always good. You know, it helps with, especially when they're knobs, like, you know, they want to see their family and everything. So that's always fun. So when you have a relative novice like me asking you questions about your program, this is your area of expertise. What would you have asked you that I missed out on here? Was there something I didn't touch on?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
Does it turn it around? No.
You know, again, rifle is a very small sport in the grand scheme of things, but a lot of people don't realize that it is an NCAA sport. And, you know, if I didn't have rifle, I don't even know if I would have gone to college. I mean, it helped pay for my college, and, you know, it teaches you a lot of lessons about, you know, discipline, like any sport does, but rifle specifically because it's such a mental sport. But, yeah, I mean, if anyone has children that are interested or anything like that, it is a really good scholarship opportunity, especially if you want to go to like an academy or something. I wanted to go to West Point, but I have some weird medical things, so they wouldn't accept me, but you know.
Well, Claire, it's great of you to come out to Montana tonight and to come out and hang out with us. And I learned something from this. And, you know, you learn something every day, but I feel like I learned something good today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That is Claire O'Neill, the rifle coach at the Citadel, spending some time with us here on Beyond the Barracks. Barracks as we wind our way toward the final segment of it. The Bulldogs will take on North Greenville this Saturday. That is a noon kickoff, and we'll be on radio with coverage at 11 a.m. on our pregame show, and then the kickoff between the Bulldogs and North Greenville follows at noon. If you can't make it out, and we encourage you to, it's Military Appreciation Weekend, but if you can't make it out, join us on radio. We will be there, and we'll be happy to tell you the story, and we're crossing our fingers. Maybe it'll be another good one. Mm-hmm. Claire, thanks a whole bunch.
Thank you.
All right, we are back with more of Beyond the Barracks right after this time out. We are live at Montana's 521 Red Bank Road, and Beyond the Barracks is presented by Cutwater Spirits. Back with more after this on the Citadel Bulldogs Radio Network. Barracks returns, and we're live tonight at Montana's at 521 Red Bank Road here in Goose Creek. Brian Giffen, the radio voice of the Citadel, along with the head football coach, Maurice Drayton. Our thanks again to Claire O'Neill, who was terrific, and also, of course, Barry Casterlin, who is terrific up here also. And, Coach, now you get ready for this game against North Greenville, and it is an important one because it's the next one. I'm going to start parroting your talking points here. But it is an important one, not just because it's the next one, but because you want to get back on the winning track. You want to get things on the right, smooth track heading into conference play, too.
Absolutely. We want to get the first home win in the Maurice Drayton era. That's what we want to happen.
Yeah, and you take on a North Greenville team that, they are a D2 program, but don't sleep on them. We were talking a little bit earlier about, they're a hard-nosed, very accomplished program. They were in the playoffs, I believe, last year. They did suffer an overtime loss in their first game of the year, so that's just going to add to how hungry they are coming in here, too.
Absolutely, and they're going to be prepared. Their head coach, we're built through the same cloth.
I want to talk a little bit about what you see when you turn on the tape and you look at them that stands out. What's going to make them difficult to defend? What's going to make them difficult to take on and get the better of?
That's a great question. It's physicality and fight. These guys are very physical at the point of attack, and they fight to the end.
Right. We saw them, and I say we, in my Kennesaw State years. Now, again, this would be 5-6 years ago, but this was in a stretch where the Owls, the team I was with then, went through like a 21-game home winning streak, and the closest they came in there to losing a game was to North Greenville, and one that they kind of overlooked, didn't know much about them.
Yeah.
But Coach Bohanna didn't overlook him. He knew a lot, but you know what I mean. They kind of took it a little for granted, and suddenly you look up, and there's 4 minutes left in the game, and you're behind. And they found a way to go get the game and won the game, but that stood out for me because that's a program that's rich in history, culture, tradition, and they're loaded.
Absolutely, and you're right by saying they're loaded. They also have 8 guys on their roster that's from the Low Country,
right?
From Hanahan, from Goose Creek, from Oceanside, and from Wando High School, Ashley Ridge, and Somerville. So they have a Low Country flavor, and you better believe those guys want to come home and they want to show out for their hometown folk.
I'm going to have to leverage your help to see if we can get him out here in person. We were going to have Jim Peel on tonight, the legendary strength coach. We were going to have Jim on tonight, and we haven't quite landed the technology, although we will, to be able to take calls so we can have guests by phone when we do this. We just want the people here on hand to be able to hear the guests too. Otherwise, why have them? We're here to. So, but I want to talk a little bit about Jim Peel because he was on this list originally, and I'll give you a unique one. My paths with Jim crossed at Butler back in like 2000. Well, he went there in 2003, and I was already there, and he was just unbelievable. This guy was a strength coach that oversaw basketball teams that went to the final game 2 years in a row, a football program that won 2 championships in 3 years, and I mean his accomplishments here at the Citadel have been legendary too.
Absolutely. I love Jim Peel. Jim Peel was the strength coach when I entered the doors of the Citadel as a freshman. I was a first day of class walk-on, and he led the tryout. And I remember trying out, and he pulled me aside. He said, "Listen, young man." He didn't know who I was.
Right.
"Listen, young man, you have a chance." And I believed in Jim Peel. I studied his work. I did his workout plans, and I started creating shirts. I would sell shirts in the barracks. Now that I'm a graduate, I can't get in trouble for it. That said, "Bodies by Peel." Jim Peel is awesome human being. Let's get him on the show.
That's what I was thinking. We got to see if we can. We got to talk him into coming out here to see if we can get somebody to go pick him up.
He'll do it. He'll do it.
Abscond with Jim Peel and bring him out. But listen to some of these other accomplishments. So when he was here the first time, 88 through 99. Won AA playoffs in 1988, 1990, and 1992. Won the SoCon championship, of course, finishing one of those seasons ranked number 1 nationally. In 1990, the Citadel's team that went to the College World Series. We talked about the accomplishments at Butler. This guy's been, I had a great 3-4 years, whatever it was, working with him, but I had no idea the scope of the things this guy not only had accomplished prior to that, but has since then, too.
He's unbelievable. He used to drive this pickup truck truck, he had Rottweilers. So he would always have a Rottweiler in the weight room while we're lifting. That's intimidating in itself. And then the one thing that sticks out, my daughter always says when she sees pictures of me, I had a fat neck, right? So Jim Peel made sure that everybody had a thick neck, everybody was strong in their core, so to the point where our strength coach now, Joe Varga, who we met week 1, my daughter told him, hey, I've never seen a superhero with a skinny neck. Our guys need to start doing necks. So, Jim Peel, thank you. You did it the right way.
Jim Peel, the author of the fat neck, the thick neck, not
the
fat
thick neck. The thick neck. There you go.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. We've got these tickets to give away for the game Saturday, Coach. Look, you're the head coach, so I've got to defer to you on this. How are we going to give these tickets?
Okay, trivia question. We've already given the answer tonight. 2 tickets, Citadel versus North Greenville. Easy answer. What year did the opposing coach, Jeff Farrington, graduate from the Citadel? And who did he play for?
All right. Well, it looks like
we have 4 hands up. I'm going to defer right now. I'm going to look to this gentleman right here who lives in Cane Bay.
Right.
You tell me. Art Baker, 1982. Now, for a bonus, can you tell us what company he was in?
Stumped. Stumped.
He was in Romeo. Yes. But guess what? You still win.
So I got to find 2 friends.
You have to find 2 friends.
Right.
Here you go. Thank you so much. All right.
By the way, for those of you that are here too, we've got a box of little freebies down here. They're like can koozies and things like that. Take some sunglasses, take some swag. We've got some stuff right here. I'm dropping the ball here. I should have mentioned the swag right out of the box.
We got to give the giveaways.
You know what? I need to start faster, Coach. I need to start faster, man.
Yes, sir.
Here we are in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Oh yeah, by the way, we got this box of free stuff.
Absolutely. With the last 4 or 5 minutes, we have to thank Montana staff.
Right.
Let me tell you something. This is the best food on this side of the Mason-Dixie line. Their steaks, they are known for their steaks, their wings. When it comes to Jerry and Brenda Clark,
right,
and one of my good friends, Dustin Clark, I can't say enough about them. They do an excellent job of keeping this community fed, keeping this community happy, and having a fun time.
And you know, Dustin was telling me this afternoon, 56 years now too, right? Yeah, 56 years. So they've been keeping the community fed for a long time.
Yes,
that's a lot of feeding over 56 years. Well, they've been great. And I had a burger here this afternoon because I'm trying to set up stuff. I need something I can eat with my hands. And it was such a good burger that I had to sit down. But
yes, sir.
It was fantastic. No, everybody's been great. So it's this game this weekend. Any keys that stand out for you as we close this up? Anything that you have to do better to get this one and be 2-1 going into conference play?
Absolutely. We've talked about it at nauseum. We have to win third down. That is important. We have to start fast, and we have to impose our will on the opponent. If we do those 3 things, we will be successful, and the Citadel faithful will be happy tailgating afterwards.
And we will have the beginning of that story starting at 11 a.m. on 102.1 The City right here, our flagship, as well as 92.1, and our affiliates in Columbia and Sumter, the full Citadel Bulldogs radio network, 7 stations strong. We'll have coverage at 11 a.m. with the kickoff between the Bulldogs and North Greenville following at noon. That'll about do it from here. Give yourselves a hand. You guys have been great to have out here. It's been great to have everybody together. One more hand, too, for the folks at Montana's who have been really great hosts to us, and we hope to come back and get to do this again at some point. Thanks to all of you who have joined us on radio, those of you who have joined us on YouTube, and we will talk to you on Saturday, everybody. That will do it from here. Go Bulldogs.
Go Dogs.